Welcome everyone, Simon here from the Whales of Wall Street. Finally it is here, the MultiVac introduction video. Guys, first of all, apologies for the delay in bringing this video to you. It's 2 weeks overdue. I had recorded for 45 minutes last week to launch it last Monday, and as some of you know, we had some appalling audio issues. Sounded like I was miles away talking down the microphone. It was only literally a couple of centimeters from me, but found out what the issue was, got a new microphone ordered, and here we are today. It's a bit better. It could be better, but you know, there's a new laptop on the way, a new camera on the way, so hopefully things will get better. I'm sure there's a song that we could sing in that momentum occasion. But guys, on topic here, MultiVac. Okay, so before we go into a bit of an intro and explore MultiVac a bit more, I want to make it aware to you guys where you can purchase MTV currently on exchanges. So we got Gate, KuCoin and PancakeSwap and Mexi. I think there's a couple of others, but those are the main ones. And the traditional pairings USDT, BTC and Ethereum on a couple of the other ones as well. Me personally, I have not got MTV, can you believe it? But as I've suggested in the recent chart videos, I was waiting for a bit of a correction. We have seen that quite recently, but also I'm waiting for payday as well. And I'm definitely going to be bagging some in the next 1 or 2 days to make sure I've got a portfolio up and running with MTV. And I'm going to get it into staking as soon as possible, which is a point we will go on to in a second. But I just want to be clear that we don't always do videos that we hold here at Whales of Wall Street. We're here for you guys as well. That's why we do like the People's Crypto every weekend, for example, which again is delayed from this weekend, but we have that coming hopefully soon. But yeah, it's an opportunity for people to branch out and talk to us about projects that they hold and they're interested in and why they're interested in it. And we've learned so many things. You know, we maybe cover 4 or 5 projects per weekend that you guys mentioned to us. So keep that going on our community pages. Go and check those out. But MTV, guys, is one of the ones that was brought to our attention a couple of episodes ago. But it's also something that we were introduced to by a couple of other different channels a few months back. And at that time, as I've mentioned in the previous chart videos, it's not something I just wanted to jump into. I had a big portfolio already, and I didn't really understand enough of it to jump in. I wasn't just going to jump in because everyone's going, wow, this is great, this is so early, the price is low, blah, blah, blah. I had a massive portfolio, I still do. So any consideration of additional assets to me is not something I take lightly. So yes, of course, I could have got it a couple months ago when the price was very, very good. But I always say the next time to plant a tree was 20 years ago, and the next time to plant one is now. So here I am looking at MTV in the face, and you know, very much liking what I see, what it's about. And on that note, let's go into that. So before we do that, I'll just give a quick overview here from CoinMarketCap in terms of like its overview, if you like. So MultiVac is the innovative sharding killer and pioneering flexibility computing framework. We'll go into all of this in proper detail in a second, but I just want to do top line stuff here. So high throughput and flexible public blockchain platform, MultiVac proposed as an all-dimensional sharding solution to increase transactions per second on the blockchain. And MultiVac is the first one to propose a flexible commuting framework so the developers can trade off freely between the blockchain trilemma and on this framework. So guys, there's a few things here: high scalability, linear expansion, and also fair node operation. So we'll go into that in a bit more detail in regards to how it's trying to shard and expand its blockchain and help bridging as well. So MultiVac, guys, as we mentioned, pioneering flexible blockchain platform based on trusted sharding. So there's a multitude of aspects to this. This data here will probably increase as time goes on, as the blockchain continues its momentum and development. I have seen sort of rumors or thought processes that eventually in the future, and this is of course when we look at price discovery and things in the future, maybe 5-10 years from now, this could be in the millions to really compete with the likes of Visa and all these other, you know, platforms of transactional support in the real world that we see today already. So MultiVac being the next generation public blockchain designed for large scale and complex distributed applications. So there's a multitude of information around the sharding and this trilemma flexibility, but I just wanted to bring some points to you guys. So of course, those that don't know or perhaps have a limited perhaps understanding of like blockchain, essentially like you've got two aspects of blockchain. You've got kind of like the ledger aspect, which is kind of the public data that you see. The identity of the user is kind of hidden, as you tend to just see like the public address, but it provides the transparency to any potential investigation or requirement to see the historic data of a transaction. So that's kind of like what the ledger and finance aspect of it. But then you've got like the blockchain element itself, which is essentially made up, guys, and to be fair, I probably should have had like a diagram or something drawn for you guys, but it's kind of like made up of 4 sections. Okay, so securing various elements of data within each one. And the first part of the block maintains the size information. Okay, so this is like the data capacity that confirm the sizes of the data, essentially. Okay, so within the second part of the block, so one of 4 we just mentioned, 2, the second part being is what known as the block header, so holding 6 elements within that part 2, key data such as software protocol versions, and this is where we come into play of the protocols within these blockchains. We always talk about protocols, especially things like Harmony protocol. We've got MultiVac protocol and all these aspects here, potentially enabling the upgrading of the system and the previous block hash information, which is not reversible. This is where you hold the transactional data, and then you've got things like the epoch time and other elements of it as well. Third part of the block obtains the transactional count, i.e. the number of from the overall sequence of events within the transaction data of the blockchain. So this helps look at everything in the chain's historic data via the blocks and any changes the transactions have in the result of a new hash. And finally, the last part, the block in the transaction itself is to which the reasons the block has been created in the first place. The overall framework is defined as what is known as a Merkle tree. Now, a Merkle tree is something that you will see perhaps mentioned when you're scouring the web page of MultiVac, particularly around here. So the ledger is stored, when we mentioned about the ledger just a minute ago, so to reiterate, that aspect is kind of like the recording mechanism. If you think of like an old school ledger on like an Excel sheet or something like that, where you're recording data manually, of course, ledgers in decentralized platforms and blockchain do this kind of automatically. But what's great about the transparency of this in terms of a public blockchain is that you can see transactions going in and out, but you can't see like the GDPR data of like my name or your name. But it's really good from the investigation perspective and tracking and monitoring monetary values. So in here, the ledger is stored in an innovative structure based on Merkle trees. So what I'm trying to get into your minds, guys, and forgive me, I basically did a diploma in blockchain crypto a few months ago, and I've had a massive passion for crypto and blockchain probably for about 1.5 years now, because I had so many questions and answers in my head from things I knew in the AI and IoT industries and automation, gaming. And finally, blockchain gave me an answer that I needed, like the actual answer to go, wow, these are all the things I knew about, but never realized how it could work. So it was really interesting, and I do recommend you can go on like online courses and just go through them. They're not massively expensive, and I always think like that's an investment in itself in your own knowledge and understanding of blockchain. I do tend to sometimes read out notes that I've made throughout my studies, but also from my thesis that I put together. For those that are interested, I did get a distinction, by the way, so hopefully I know a bit about what I'm talking about here. But so yeah, do forgive me, sometimes I'm reading notes or actual aspects of my research and words within my coursework here. So when you're understanding about the Merkle tree, so this is actually the last part of the block in the transaction itself, to which the reason the block has been created in the first place. So the overall framework is defined as what is known as the Merkle tree. So when we're talking about Merkle trees and within MultiVac, the miner and the storage nodes mechanism separates the physical storage and the control rights to data, which can provide a high level of decentralization and scalability. So these are the key aspects here, guys, about MultiVac, keeping on a decentralized level and being able to scale it. Scalability is extremely important in this day and age for blockchain. Okay, so you've got things like Bitcoin, of course, and Ethereum back in the day. So to put that in perspective, Bitcoin's block time is around 10 minutes with a peak transaction per second of 6, while Ethereum's block time is around about 15 seconds with a peak transaction per second of about 20. Visa can handle around roughly 24,000 transactions per second. Okay, so it's kind of already ahead of majority of these older blockchains. But if you look at up here where we just mentioned with MultiVac before, current peak transactions per second, and bear in mind this isn't like real time, this isn't not consistent all the time, but certainly for now it's peak when it's at its utmost network capability, 30,000. So we're already ahead of the game against infrastructures that have been in place for so long. Now, when we're looking at all this linear scalability to infinity and VRF dynamic resharding, so this scalability to infinity, which makes arguably, when I look at projects, I love Harmony One and all these kind of projects and Elrond, but I always look for differences, unique selling points. Yeah, when I look in my working environment to what I do on a day-to-day job, I always look about USP. What's the benefit to the customer? What's the benefit of this over others? I hold a majority of these different crypto assets in my portfolio. MultiVac is not one of them. It's new to me, so do bear with me. Hopefully we're doing a good job on the intro, but I think this is definitely one for my portfolio, 100%. But it's very much around that loading of the system, guys. So when you've got blockchain technology, and when we try and emphasize what blockchain is, we're not just talking about finance here, guys. We're talking about a multitude of transactional data, movement of tokens, movement of machine-to-machine learning, arguably in the near future, where we're talking about things like the dynamics of AI and IoT being built on blockchain as time moves by. Integrating blockchain technology, you need all this data to be going in and out within a multitude of millions of transactions or activities per second, which is why it's important for blockchain to be operating at its most peak performance all the time. And the scalability aspect allows not only that to happen, but also to enable the power and the ultimate magnitude of people coming into the network, or devices or products or people or miners, whatever it is, developers, all of this magnitude of people and infrastructure coming in one time at peak periods when the network is almost on overload. Scalability is really important to keep the development and keep the projects of blockchain moving in a forward direction. So this whole aspect of VRF dynamic resharding is a really nice, unique infrastructure that MultiVac essentially provides that others don't. I mean, I don't know of other ones that use full-on verifiable random functions, basically what VRF stands for, but essentially it provides an infinite improvement aspect. That's why when we go back to the point earlier about these transactions per second, this is just now. If we continue the scalability using this infinite method, this all-dimensional sharding, the trilemma flexibility that MultiVac has created from scratch, that is literally the foundation of the future of blockchain technology, arguably, providing of dApps as well, of course, the development of decentralized application. That's when I'm talking about things that we just mentioned earlier about IoT, AI, all of these aspects, including finance. It's massively important. So MultiVac basically allows developers to order shard sizes in relation to their specific use of case. So because of its interoperability, it can literally manipulate itself. It's quite amazing, really. It kind of reminds me of DAG blockchains, which we'll do a video on in a few days' time, because DAG, in my opinion, is the next phase of blockchain. But for this, it's like an algorithm within itself to change shard sizes, to change hashes and transactions, which is why we mentioned about the structure of blocks earlier, so you could get an emphasis and understanding that there's so much magnitude towards blockchain and what's actually entailed in them. Yes, it's kind of an easy process to understand when you look at it in that individual basis, but if you're looking at it from an operation perspective, you're talking about a magnitude of activities going left, right, and center every second, every millisecond. So MultiVac is massive in this aspect. It means that there's a high level of security is needed for larger transactions. The shard size can be increased dynamically. The same can be done for faster throughput if developers want that. So it's really opening itself up to developers to encourage their improvements, their learnings of this blockchain technology, but also developing and increasing the performance of MultiVac as well. So this dynamic resharding is really interesting because it ensures the shard security and the self-growth capacity, which is taking scalability arguably to another level in the sense that it's I wouldn't call it manipulated, I would call it just the ability to be developed moving forward. So anyone on the system of MultiVac can be a miner. You and I could be. I could use my crappy laptop that I've got right now and use that. You don't have to have massive mining rigs. So on the green aspect, it's good because you don't have to have gigantic magnitudes of GPU power and this, that, and the other. But because of the sharding approach and the proof of staking, it's helping it all transition together. Okay, so here we go. For example, fair mining by everyone. Lower miner threshold and everyone can join into the network easily without any special miner and competition. Your laptop or any ordinary PC with dual core and 2GB RAM, which most stuff has from the last few years now, can participate in mining. So I think that's really cool to think about it in that way. And this is kind of what it entails. Now that you've got like the mainnet and everything up and running and the infrastructure of MultiVac, all of these things can now start taking place. The whole mechanism of the token for the governance of the blockchain, the smart contract, which we'll get into in a second, because that is in the November update. So when we're talking about price discovery and where we're going with MultiVac, it's these kind of things. You've got development programs like the C, JavaScript, all of those aspects, the SDKs, the plugins, the core program, all of that aspect for building and engineering the platform further, the network and service. We talk about identity verification. We talk about identity quite a lot in our other videos about where identity is going within blockchain. We're talking about things where machine to machine learning will take over and do things on your behavioral patterns that you're doing now. You're teaching, whether you like it or not, you are teaching right now an AI algorithm system your behaviors, and eventually the identity verification aspect of smart contracts and know your customer will take over your theory and of what you do on a daily basis and make decisions for you. Got the application development permissioning scheme similar to the identity. It kind of crosses over with the verification process, and the prediction markets in terms of that's probably going to more delve into like AMMs and things like that, data and IOP exchange markets, and then there's loads of other stuff here from the development mechanisms as well, and what we just mentioned just a minute ago about mining and staking. So guys, this is phenomenal. It's a massive ecosystem in itself that's continuously moving forwards, enabling large-scale commercial dApps to integrate smoothly into our ecosystem. A nice society feel to it in terms of its progression. Now this is interesting. I didn't see this. So yep, decentralized proof of stake, but look at that, DAGs. I'm telling you guys, right, we done a video on Ubix. It's quite a new gem. Go check out the video. I think we did an intro one as well, actually. But there's a lot of other ones. And there's actually a crypto asset called DAG, which I'm looking to bag this week as well. I think it's around 20 cents or something. But DAGs require way too much network transmission to be widely in an open environment. Sharding is the only solution that has been proven to sustainably improve transfer per seconds in decentralized, secure manner. So I do understand where it's coming from against DAG, but I do think that DAG also has its own unique infrastructure that will probably work alongside these kind of projects like MultiVac, or even on its own. Because I do think DAG's going down a completely different algorithm route to MultiVac. So I can see why they're pulling that out as like maybe a competitor perspective. But I love competitiveness because it brings the best out of people and projects sometimes. So looking forward to seeing how that works. And then you've just got the emphasis around the experts and engineers building this platform. So guys, this is quite incredible, really. The Mainnet's just recently launched. It's obviously utilizing the MTV as the governance aspect of the token. So it's compatible with Ethereum and the Binance chain as well. So you can use MetaMask and other decentralized wallets to directly load your own ETH or BSC addresses using the MTV Mainnet. So that's really cool to see that as well. There's loads of multitudes of different exchanges it's listed on, recommended wallets. And then you've of course got through the BEP as well, versus around all the different kind of swap and DEX platforms, as well as Binance DEX was massive, of course, as well as these ones that we've got here. Pancake Swap, massive. Don't know about Burger Swap, that's a random name. Dodo, of course, massive as well. Very much early days for them, and very interesting to see how they develop. But you've also got how to swap between this, and I think it's really good that they give a bit of instruction here how to do that. What we will do, like we did with the Proton XPR video, We will do a separate like staking video of how to stake MTV. But here's a bit of information on the staking aspect. Current APR, guys, so this is answering someone's comment in the chart video we did the other day. 17% is the current APR. Now this probably fluctuates as more people jump on board. So I guess the earlier the better. I'm not sure how long that stays there. I'll have to do a bit more research in that aspect. But here's the goal they're trying to achieve for the goal. Is that 7, 5, 6, 7? I'm pretty sure that's 7. Correct me if I'm wrong. So they're trying to achieve 4 billion MTV to be listed in the staking. So there's a really interesting aspect on that. But before we go into a bit more about the staking and their next bits of the roadmap, I truly believe like this is a fantastic project that's going to develop the eventual millions of transactions per second as more shards and nodes are added to this system. And from the smart contracts aspect, which we'll cover in a second, I think that's really important as well, particularly the amount of like transactions that will be occurring as time goes by and more people get more aware of this, and more importantly, institutional and commercial mentality towards things like MultiVac being used. And I find it's quite interesting because sharding also helps with like the cloud storage on a decentralized network capability. So I think it's going to really open up a majority of different arenas across the world and start encouraging people who perhaps do use cloud data to be more encouraged to use decentralized blockchain technology instead. But it helps both of those aspects in general anyway. So I'm really excited to see the continuation and the development of MultiVac. But hopefully that's been kind of like an opener, guys, to understanding like what MultiVac is doing and the infrastructure of a blockchain and how that kind of integrates with what MultiVac are trying to do in terms of the sharding aspect. So the sharding aspect being that, of course, taking that principled database management that we talked about, ledgers and blockchain in general, it's essentially taking the parts and units of that storage, allowing the files to be easily accessed as well as more secure. In this case, blockchain sharding is used to make the cloud storage and decentralized networks possible. So it's very much designed to help improve transactional speeds, latency, more importantly, when the networks are at perhaps peak periods, as well as ensure a more robust network in that when that kind of similar thing happens. So there's loads of really cool things to that, and why MultiVac and sharding in general is important to blockchain to encourage the development and the expansion of these blockchain technologies. And when, like I said, in the future, when anything and everything, 5G modules, devices, IoT devices are all using blockchain, you need the transactions per second. Transactions per second aren't just about financial things. They're about manipulations of activities, the recording of movements, supply chain, everything and everything will be on blockchain in the future. That's 100%, in my opinion, positively correct. And we know about know your customer as well. So you can't be altered. Immutable audit trail is infrastructured within KYC. That helps with the smart contracts. And on that point, guys, conveniently, in terms of the delay of this video, it's actually helped us add a bit more information that we perhaps would have missed out if we had actually gone ahead and launched the video last week. But here we go. So the mainnet launch has been quite recent. The bridging with Ethereum and Binance Chain and all the others. Polychain partnership is obviously massive as well. I'm looking forward to covering that a bit more in another video. But I think what's really interesting about that, of course, with Polychain, there's a load of things going on about projects with that at the moment. So very much looking to see how that develops over time. But yeah, I mean that kind of partnership is very much around allowing financial reward, I think it is, for those that do get involved on certain packs and stuff. But the special partnership, I'm just reading here from now, of course, Polychain Monsters kicks off the full season by partnering with MultiVac, the all-dimensional sharding flexible blockchain. So really cool. So Polymon is very much around collectors and booster packs and things like that. So again, about the infrastructure of various different attitudes that MultiVac can bring to the table is quite interesting. But pulling it back to this tweet part here, so 3,000 nodes, 3 billion MTV staked. Well, we can see here already since arguably this post, which was when 10th of October, 8 days ago, it looks like there's been an additional 73 million or 74 million staked. So I can see this 4 billion being taken up quite quickly. You see a lot of massive reward amounts here going on in the different structures of the goals. So really interested to see how this progresses and what on earth number 8 would be. Who knows what? It could be 5, 7, 10, who knows? We'll have to see. But this is what I'm interested in. The NFT marketplace, so that's any time this month, supposedly. November, absolutely gigantic. When we're talking about price movements and we're talking about the upscaling of the bull runs and things, guys, these 3 alone, I mean, especially November one, if you look at the interaction that Cardano had with its smart contract announcements, MultiVac is a phenomenal outfit. And I think that these kind of things are going to be absolute massive price discovery moments for MultiVac, in my opinion. Let us know in the comments below of this video what you think. But I think this is an incredible run in to the end of the year, and I'm looking forward to seeing what comes about next year as well, of course. But if we just scroll down a bit further, we see the roadmap here. So I would like to see a bit more information on this roadmap, but it does cover some aspects of we talked about the MultiVac governance through the mainnet. So that's about the MTV token itself being used as a governance token to help with low gas fees. And that is, of course, very important as well. If you look at Ethereum's gas fees compared to this kind of thing, that's why, again, scalability is so important to keep that up and running. So transactions or bridging becomes easier and more transactable, more efficient and sustainable when we're looking at that kind of thing as well. So there's loads to be going on with MultiVac throughout the rest of this year and into next year. I would like to see a bit more about 2022 on here, but I'm not going to complain too much because they've done a hell of a lot this year already. But I'm really interested to see this smart contract launch, and that's made me even more bullish about entering this portfolio, crypto asset, into my portfolio this week. So hopefully, guys, that's kind of covered a few aspects of MultiVac and why we're interested in it. We'll continue to do updates on this as and when big updates occur, and of course, especially with the charts. But we won't do a chart update in this video because we want to try and keep this like a, what would be the word, like a time valuable, if that makes sense, in the sense that if we put chart things in there, it's kind of like putting a time stamp on it. And I think what's great to see is look back at this kind of video in the future and see, where MultiVac takes us above and beyond. So guys, let us know in the comments below what you think about MultiVac. Hopefully you've enjoyed this intro video. We've certainly enjoyed learning more and more about it as time has gone by, and we're very much looking forward to the updates coming out in October, November and December. I'm really looking forward to the November one. But we will definitely keep you updated on MultiVac as time goes on. Thanks guys for watching, and we will see you in the next big crypto asset intro video, which is coming very soon. Take care. Bye bye.